Hello, everyone. We're going to talk about migrant workers in Finland today and how they are currently being treated not so greatly compared to regular working Finns. So let's jump into it, shall we? But if housing was a commodity, wouldn't that mean landlords couldn't just sit on their asses easily? We couldn't have that, Mad Mouse. Yeah. What do you mean? But what will they then do? I don't know, get a job. But they paid for it. Anyway. This is an article from Yle. Union report: migrants suffer lower pay, prejudice, discrimination in Finland. Finnish recruiters and employers need to recognize and appreciate foreign qualifications and work experience, the TEK report recommended. A report out on Thursday says that foreigners in Finland's labor market face prejudice, unnecessary language requirements, discrimination, lack of recognition of their qualifications, and lower pay than their Finnish counterparts. What? But I thought Finland didn't have any racism, chat. I thought racism is over. And this is like the thing that people don't really understand. Like, moving to another country as a foreigner is like, it's not an easy thing to do, first of all. Especially to a country where you don't speak the language. Like, most people moving to Finland for work are not going to be speaking Finnish. They're going to have to learn it. And then, of course, trying to get a job, you're at a disadvantage because this discrimination, which leads to situations where people who are coming to Finland will not stay in Finland. They will leave. Which of course is not a good thing because people come over and work. It would be good if they stayed. The engineering union TEK commissioned the report, which found several faults with employers. Quote, many of the disadvantages they face derive directly from discrimination and prejudice in recruitment practices and hiring on the part of employers, the report stated. TEK launched the study earlier this year in an attempt to discover the reasons behind the relatively high unemployment rate among people of foreign background. In June this year, 27% of immigrants living permanently in Finland were unemployed, compared to the total unemployment rate of just 7.1% in July. The report found that some of the reasons behind the high unemployment rate for people with immigrant backgrounds, especially in the technology sector, included a requirement among employers for fluent Finnish language skills, a lack of recognition of foreign skills and qualifications, and Finnish bureaucracy. And there are a lot of jobs that require perfect Finnish even though they have no reason for doing it. Yeah, it's stupid. It's really dumb. Like that, you're just going to exclude a lot of foreigners from that because having perfect Finnish as a foreigner is very difficult. Fluent Finnish used as excuse. With regard to the issue of fluent Finnish language skills, the report queried why this was such an important requirement for employers, especially as fluency is a highly subjective benchmark. Good point. Quote, it often feels like fluent Finnish is just an excuse not to employ internationals. Researcher Patricia Versinger said, quote, very often A2 or B1 level would be perfectly sufficient to do the job versus native level, which is a C2, end quote. Yeah, in like, Mad Mouse, yeah, in tech, Finns speak in English with each other, yeah, like, or use a lot of English. So something like tech, there's no point in like having a fluent Finnish requirement in tech. That feels really weird. The report recommended that recruiters and employers reevaluate this requirement and determine the language skills needed for certain jobs, in particular in line with the level achieved for the Finnish National Certificate of Language Proficiencies YKI. So yeah, it doesn't make any sense to require that. And again, it leads to a situation where foreigners, immigrants, will be more unemployed, which means that they're going to have a lot of trouble with money, which means that they are going to be more inclined towards a life of crime. And then, foreigners do more crimes per capita than Finnish people, and then the chuds and the racists are going to be like, look, they just come here and do crime. And it's like, well, if they had an easier time getting jobs and the unemployment rate wasn't as high, then maybe there wouldn't be as much crime among this demographic. No, but there's no racism here in Finland. FYI, it goes B1, B2, C1, C2, and C is a very proficient. Okay. Recognize a foreign qualification work experience. The report further suggests that there needs to be a greater recognition and appreciation of foreign qualifications and work experience in Finnish society. Quote, the studies we examined show that immigrants are often assumed to be unskilled or that they are in need of education of the Finnish way of doing work, researcher Shannon Nichols said. Quote, the assumption that immigrants don't know how to work in Finland shows the discriminatory attitudes towards immigrants and their studies or work experience outside of Finland. Yeah, very good point. This shows in migrants' pay packets too, sorry. TEK found that, quote, the median salary of non-Finnish nationals working in tech is lower than Finnish nationals. Finnish nationals' median salary is 5,040 euros, EU nationals' median salary is 4,440 euros, and a non-EU national's median salary is 4,000 euros. So a notable difference, I would say. So here we can see, like, you know, this is systemic racism, you know, when people are like, well, you know, of course there are individual acts of racism, you know, someone calls someone the N-word or yada, 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 but there's no like large spread racism in Finland. No, there is. And this is a perfect example of systemic discrimination, as I say, rather than racism, because it's not just race in this case, it's discrimination. Sorry, systemic discrimination. So this is a systemic problem where many companies in the tech field, in this case, require Finnish language, and they don't recognize foreign qualifications. So then, like, people are discriminated just because they don't speak the language and because their qualifications are not from Finland. So they have a harder time succeeding than the locals, which sucks. Yes, Fake, and Finland would get more tax money that way, so only good things happen when we drop the Finnish requirement from jobs that don't need it. Yeah. And when we recognize foreign qualifications and work experience, yeah, we get more tax income because more people are working. So it's really like, these are the kind of systemic discrimination problems that we need to tackle so that people can live in a more equitable society. But lucky for us, the National Coalition Party chair Orpo said slash red tape to attract more foreign workers, which I do agree with. I think if you want to go work somewhere abroad, it should be super easy. Like, it should be super, super easy to go work abroad. It's like, you want to go work abroad? Yeah, okay, sure. Like, if you are moving from within the EU, it's fairly simple. Like, if you are an EU citizen and you're moving to another EU country to work, fairly simple, not super complicated. But if it's outside the EU and you're coming to Finland to work, there's a lot of paperwork. Lot of waiting, like a lot of waiting. I remember when I was still working in Finland, like when I was at Ubisoft, we were hiring people from outside of the EU. It would take a really long time to get the paperwork done. Like, we're talking like half a year to like 9 months to get the paperwork done. Like, it really, and then, you know, you lose also out on that because some people are just like, they don't want to go through all that hassle. I don't know, this seems kind of dumb. I don't see why Finnish language requirements are racist, and it seems highly likely that foreign qualifications aren't as valuable as Finnish ones given the standard of Finnish education. See, that is exactly the discriminatory attitude. How do you know that foreign qualifications are worse than Finnish qualifications? How do you know that? Have you gone to every foreign, like, have you looked at foreign qualifications and measured them against some objective measurement system that is not the Finnish measurement system, by the way, because then it would be heavily biased against Finnish citizens, or like, it would give them a boost. You haven't. Sure, because like I just said, Finnish education is high quality. Sure, but that's not just talking about education. Qualifications is more than just education. It's like previous work experience, your like, education is definitely one of them, but it's more than just that. And yes, Finnish education is of high quality, but that doesn't mean that people coming from abroad don't have a good level of education. And like I said, racist was the wrong word to use there. I would say it's discriminatory to require. It's not discriminatory to require Finnish language. It's okay to require Finnish language, but requiring a fluent Finnish skills for jobs that don't need it is discriminatory, because then you're automatically cutting out all people who are not fluent speakers, which is like most immigrants, because they're not going to be that. When you don't need to do that, there's no need to do that. You're only doing it because you're like, we don't want to deal with someone who doesn't speak Finnish perfectly. Well, the Finnish people would certainly care about the kind of standard Finnish people care about. Yes, but the Finnish people would also be biased towards it. Do you see what I mean? Sure, elementary schools are good in Finland, but at university level, there is no meaningful difference. Exactly, yeah. So, like, when we're talking about elementary school and, like, upper secondary, yeah, Finland is, like, really good. But then when we get to university level, you can go around the world, many different places where the education quality is the same level, if not higher. So that is the kind of like attitude. The article just doesn't provide detail. What detail? What do you mean? What detail? It could be that they're being unreasonable. What do you mean? What do you mean unreasonable? Like, we can look at where's the, oh shit, there was still more after here. Sorry. Sorry, I missed the end of this because there was this thing. Sorry, my bad. The report also noted that many immigrants in Finland are unable to secure employment in their own profession and are forced to change career paths. Nichols also commented on the bureaucratic barriers that immigrants face, highlighting in particular the arduous residence permit process. The bureaucratic barriers to hiring non-EU nationals should be removed, and the processing time for residence permits and the income requirements for visas should be reduced. Agreed. Read. Hey, Eri! Thank you for the sub! Much appreciated. Thank you. Detailing the nature of qualification of foreign workers as compared to native workers. You can have a look if you like. Here's the link to the research. Go for it. Oh no, it's a PowerPoint? Okay, I'm not gonna show that on stream. Okay. Education is kind of overrated in many cases anyway. Not all see, for example, medicine and law. You can often get more meaningful experience by working, etc. This coming from a master of arts. Yeah, it really depends on the industry, and tech definitely is a kind of industry where you can learn on the job and by experience. And this was specifically in tech, by the way. This research was specifically in tech because it was the what's the name of the union? Engineering union. So this was specifically talking about the tech industry. And the Finnish education system is good, don't get me wrong, but there is propaganda also towards it, like fucking best system in the world, best system in the world. But it's important to recognize these kind of structural discrimination because they discriminate. Like requiring a fluency in Finnish when you don't need it is discriminatory. The standards are good. I'm not saying they're not good. I'm not saying they're not good. I'm not saying they're not good. They are good. But it's important to understand here, this is a systemic issue. You know, like I could have a requirement at work that says, I don't know if that's the system or just Finns being smart. Requiring Finnish language is not Finns being smart. Like I could make a job requirement, let's say we snap our fingers and now every job in Finland, oh, you're talking about the educational standard. I mean, again, when we get to university level, that difference is negligible. When we get to that level of education, like university, bachelor's, master's, that is no longer a meaningful difference. Yay, it worked. I'm happy for it. But yeah, I mean, people might not just want to work with people who aren't fluent in Finnish. That is discrimination. Yes, that's discrimination. That's discrimination. Yes, and that's not okay. Very simple. It's discrimination. Why is that not okay? Because it's not discrimination on the basis of race, but it is discriminating on the basis of an arbitrary thing that you just like, I don't want to work with people who are left-handed. And it's like, why is that bad? I'm not racist. How is that arbitrary? Because you don't need, in these specific jobs, full Finnish fluency was not necessary. Therefore, it is arbitrary. That's why it's arbitrary. It makes communication difficult. If the requirement of the job is that you need to have it because the job really does require it, sure, I understand that. But in these specific cases in the tech industry, the job did not require that level of fluency. Therefore, it is arbitrary. Like if it was a customer service job, sure, totally get it. What do you mean the job doesn't require it? It often feels like fluent Finnish is just an excuse not to employ internationals. Very often, A2 or B1 level would be perfectly sufficient to do the job versus native level, which is C2. That's what I mean. Which tech job needs fluent Finnish? Yeah, exactly. Why does it need to be need? What? Okay, let's go to this one. NCP chair Orpo / red tape to attract more foreign workers. Totally agree. The NCP chair pointed out that there is a fierce competition for international experts, and Finland must assure it is an attractive option. It is an attractive option. Yes. Leader of the opposition National Coalition Party, Kokoomus, Petteri Orpo, has called for more foreign workers to meet the labor shortage in many sectors of the Finnish economy. And this is, by the way, only going to get worse, this labor shortage, because we have an aging populace and we don't have enough people to fill in the gap that is coming from our aging populace going to retirement. And then we don't have enough people to fill in the amount of people going to retirement. So this problem is only going to get worse in the coming years. And the easiest solution for this is migrant workers. That's the easiest solution. Other solution is to have more babies, but that's a bit more difficult to get people to do that one. Interviewed on the Yle TV1 talk show Ykkös Aamu on Saturday, Orpo said that if elected to government, his party would work to slash the bureaucracy associated with work-based immigration. In Orpo's view, the idea that the labor shortage problem can be solved without more labor immigration is a non-starter. I mean, he's right about that. He argued that international labor recruitment is such an important issue that it should be centralized rather than scattered across different ministries. Because living gets more expensive without pay getting bigger, a lot of people can't afford having kids. Yeah. And they don't have time to have kids because now they have to work more and they don't have the energy. A major factor in the labor shortage is piss poor pay. Yep. That has a big impact on it. The third solution is, of course, to abolish the profit motive and capitalist system altogether. Hell yeah, brother. Yeah, but in the short term, yes, I think it should be easier to, as a foreigner outside of the EU, to come and work to Finland. Like, there shouldn't be this huge paperwork mountain that you have to get through. I've worked with several tech companies, and in only one, everyone spoke Finnish. The employees also needed to be Finnish citizens, I think, because it was a relatively internal security in Finland. Okay, about the only case where it's reasonable in tech. Yeah, I think so too. Okay, but that was the only thing in this article. But I do agree, like, we should definitely make it easier for people outside the EU to come work in Finland. Like I said, it should be super simple. There shouldn't be this huge paperwork that you have to go through. It doesn't make sense, because there are specifically certain industries, like my industry, the game industry and tech industry, that heavily rely on recruiting foreigners because there just isn't enough like senior skill within Finland, because Finland is such a small country, and when it comes to the game industry, it's such a new industry. There just simply isn't enough expertise in Finland. It's just not possible to find those people. So you have to hire from abroad, but then if there's a lot of paperwork, that becomes more difficult, and companies lose time and money and potential hires as well. So yeah, make it easier, absolutely. Just grow more experts, easy. Put them in the ground and then they grow. So yeah, migrant workers should have an easier time to get into Finland. There shouldn't be arbitrary requirements for them to be fluent in the language if there's no necessity for it, and their pay should also be on the same level as Finnish citizens. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and a comment down there. It helps the video out, helps it spread, and it really does help me out. I really do enjoy that. And of course, there's some videos over here that you can watch. And what else? Oh yeah, I stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday on twitch.tv/funwithfondue at 5 p.m. Central European time. Come there, come hang out with us. The chat is from there that you can see over there. And have a good one. Bye.